Okay. So we're recording now, and it's cool that I use this for videos. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Cool. So quick background. We chatted for about what 5 minutes. You've been playing since near the beginning of 2020. Uh, this is your main, but you started like 5 or 6 accounts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started about 4 years ago, and I've been playing consistently since then. But I also have enjoyed the early games, so probably started 5 or 6 new accounts.
Yeah.
And once we got past KBK1, I really turned those into farms.
Okay. And then so when you reached out, we just talked like I don't know what your goal is. So something you mentioned a couple times is 30 million kills. Now usually when I hear that, 30 million kills is essentially for me, it's like the baseline achievement to kind of be a fighter, right? Because like once you hit 30
Yeah.
million, okay, you kind of made it. That's like the at least in the game right now, the highest achievement to be a fighter.
Mhm.
Now this is not to rain on your parade, but I will say this: as damage output has gotten higher and higher with every generation, it has been easier to get more kills per KVK. So I'm just saying this because older players always like to point this out to me. And it's just like, oh, it was a lot harder to get kills before, and I actually recognize that. Okay, so
Mm.
I think part of it is you're running more marches. Part of it is commanders are just getting stronger, right? So they're cycling through the kills faster, and obviously it's a lot
Sure.
more resource intensive. I think you brought that up. But you did say that last KVK was the best you ever done, and this one you're on pace to do even better. Like, what do you feel is actually different?
Yeah, so I really decided about a year ago that I wanted to get more serious about the account. I wanted to perform better. I wanted to keep up with, the other players in my kingdoms. So I started investing more. I started really trying to focus on improving things. And then the last KVK that I had was just a really, really tough fight. And the fights would go on for days and days, right? I've been in some kingdoms in the past, especially early game, where the fight would go on for hours and then somebody would give up.
Yeah,
But this was a
tell me,
yeah, these
tell me
fights went
about it.
on for
Yeah,
days and days, and I definitely spent more resources than I ever have. I performed better than I ever had. I was only running 3 marches and ended up with I think 23 million kill points at the end. And as I sort of thought about that and thought about if I was happy with it, I really realized that I think I can do better. I think that running more marches will help. So the 30 million goal for this KVK is really an arbitrary number, but you get a coin out of 30 million. Like you said, it's a milestone to achieve. Maybe not what it used to be, but it's the next goal for me that I think is achievable.
yeah. I mean, it's like I'll say that it's pretty clear cutoff. Like obviously there's players that get way more, but farmer like people that are just not fighters can't get it. Right? They just can't. They just don't play
Sure.
enough. Like when something happens, there's a reason. Yeah, I was gonna say excuse, kind of offensive. I'll say a reason for not being able to
Sure.
show up at this time or that time or playing long enough. And it's still like a good cutoff point. So that's actually a good goal to shoot for. Okay, so
Yeah, and as I was thinking about this, as I was thinking about this video and what it takes to get to 30 million, I don't think I had a good idea of what that really required in terms of
yeah,
resources, in terms of time, in terms of marches. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos over the years just trying to educate myself, but that's one gap that I've had where I didn't really realize that until now, and I feel sort of silly saying that, but at the same time, it's taken that experience to sort of realize what it takes to put into it. So,
yeah,
maybe that's an opportunity for someone who streams, to provide content. But I think that's something that would have helped me earlier in the game.
yeah. Another way to think about it is you have your commanders, right? Your armaments, your equipment, your spend level, which you can compensate for by activity level to a degree. Right. So I'll put those two
Mhm.
together. And
Mhm.
then it's what kingdom you're in. which determines the amount of fighting you get, right? Some kingdoms have a fighting mentality, some don't. It depends on how they do Diplo, the seeding. And then when there's actually fighting, there is how well you're actually controlling your marches on the field. And then very, very underrated is how many hours you're fighting, right? Because you could do everything else well, but you're just not fighting enough, then you're just not going to get enough kills. Right. But if you're playing a lot and the other things aren't there, you're capping your efficiency, or you're capping your effectiveness. Now, the thing I think where people go off the rails a little bit, it's actually really hard to mess up your account, right? Like I see this a lot with people are like, oh, like this is going to kill your account. You can't name one thing that kills your account. Like you can't. There's not one thing you could do that will kill your account. You could set yourself back. It could be a mistake. But usually stuff that kills your account is you take a wrong direction and then you kind of double down and go down that path for longer or long enough. And then it derails your account for long enough. And then quote unquote, you killed your account. So yeah, so I would say like a big recommendation I would make to people is like, don't be scared to make mistakes. I see this a lot. Because when you're the place you're coming from is, oh, I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to make the wrong choice or make the wrong mistake. Often that is a mistake, right? Like you could pick like this set or that set, and I do the math, I show it. But if you pick a set that's like, okay, slightly less effective on the field, right? But you just went for it and you did something, you're still going to do better than most people that are playing scared or scared to make a mistake. So this is like mindset things that don't necessarily tie into the stuff that people usually want to talk about, but it's very real that it affects almost every aspect of someone's account. And like, if anything, the biggest takeaway I got from what you just said is a year ago, you decided you actually want to be more serious, right? Because if that decision or something didn't click in then nothing I say will really help, because it doesn't even like resonate with like a goal for you. Okay, so if once you have that, then we're kind of on the right path, right? So what and you could take a little bit of time to kind of feel this out or think about it. I think you're probably going to get the 30 million this KVK, right? So if you get it, what aspect of this game, and that's really what like the questionnaire is designed to help people kind of think and focus on. What aspect of this game do you really enjoy? And then like, what is a goal that you can shoot for that you can also enjoy? And like when you accomplish the goal, it's not so much coming from a place of lack, right? Sometimes people feel not good enough and they feel like if they achieve some goal, then they'll be good enough, right? Like I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something that you enjoy, and then you could try to accomplish that goal because it's something that actually lifts you up.
No, that definitely makes sense. And I'm not sure I answered the questionnaire in that way. And I'll be honest, the thing that motivated me a year ago is I was in a dying, failing kingdom, and I started looking around at new kingdoms to join. And the feedback that I got from more kingdoms than not was, oh, your account's way too old. Clearly, you're not a fighter. So, it really, while I agree with your premise that there's not anything that you can do wrong, I do think that having an account that's at a certain age without being at a certain kill point level, that has definitely kept me from being considered in terms of where I might go in the future, opportunities. Maybe. That's really what got me started, just to be honest.
All right. Well, it's not that there's nothing you can do wrong. It's that there's nothing that's catastrophic for an account. It's usually like you go one direction. So for example, depending on someone's spend and activity level, there's probably an ideal amount of marches they run, right? So you can actually run too little marches and then go too narrow and just try to make that march too good. And you set yourself back because you could have actually maximized your account a lot better. And then you do that for long enough, right? You start going, let's just say I'm going to go to the extreme end of this, right? You do one march and then everything has to be crit and then awaken 5. Like, what if you actually spread that out in a more like efficient way? How much better could you have done, right? So it's not so much that you can't make a mistake. It's that one thing won't derail your account. It's usually one thing and then another thing in that direction, another thing in that direction, and then eventually you're too far off the track. So in this game, it's very real, right? Depending on your ID and then kill points, and then to a degree deads, depending on the kingdom, they'll accept it or not, right? And then at a higher and higher level, that what they're willing to accept is a lot more aggressive. Like recently in the kingdom I'm in now, they don't want anybody with less than 5 marches, right? It's just so it is what it is. So anyways, what is a goal that, because that sounds like, okay, you realize your account was not being accepted in kingdoms that you might want to play in. So is it to move to a more competitive kingdom? I guess I don't know if I want to say that, or is it just a yeah, maybe not really. Let's not put it that way. Is it just so you can get your account back on track where the KP actually is acceptable for your ID? Like what would be a goal for you?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, right? I'm not looking to hop kingdoms. I've never looked to hop kingdoms. It's more been a matter of circumstance, right? The kingdom failed, there's anarchy. I mean, there's some outside factors that ended up leading to me being in a position where I needed to move. And I guess I just want to be in a place where I can move to kingdoms that are have good leadership, good management, and I'm in that now. But should something happen in this kingdom, I want to be able to find an opportunity in the future to where I feel like I'm competitive. I'm not looking to go to the best of the best, but at the same time, I want to go to a strong kingdom with good leadership. Right. So, or at least remain in that kind of kingdom.
Okay. And then, based on what you sent me, I think you would be in the more like low mid spender category.
Okay. Yeah.
So it sounds like anywhere from like $300 to maybe $600-700, depending on KVK and just what events show up a month.
Absolutely. So I went through and actually painfully added up exactly what I spent the last 2 months, and for this KVK, we just started into a KVK, so there's definitely more spending at the start, to get your economy up and running. So, last month I spent between $500 and $600, and then the month before that was coming out of a KVK and off season. So, $350, somewhere in that range.
Okay. So let's kind of just go through. Like I almost have like a basic checklist now for because there's stuff that's just very easy fixes you're not doing, and they'll dramatically improve your output. So, are you playing on a PC?
I saw that recommendation that you made to some other players, and afterwards I downloaded it on a PC, and I've tried it in Arc and a few other formats, and I'm not comfortable with it yet, but I'm definitely moving in that direction.
Okay, and when did you do
that? 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so last KVK was on a phone, and then this KVK is on a PC.
Now, this KVK so far is on a phone as well.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable yet enough with the PC to feel like I could fight with it, but I'm working on it.
That would be the biggest recommendation I make. If you want to make it's actually funny. If you want to make it easier and more effective, just in my opinion, the best way to play is actually in dot mode.
Yeah.
Right, because you just zoom out, control the mouse. I would say if you're not comfortable with it, which aspect of it are you not comfortable with? Like, is it the hotkey selecting troops? Is it just the whole thing is new, or is it actually using the mouse to move troops? Like, what aspect is it?
I think it's just the hotkeys, right? I mean, controlling one versus all the troops.
Okay.
The control shift A in order to get
all the troops,
the troops selected, and in order to then move them. Just getting more comfortable with that.
Okay. Yeah. So I would say there might be more, but there's only 3 things you need, right? You already said the control shift A is to select all the troops that are out there. Control A just selects all the troops on the screen. Right, so sometimes that's important because let's just say you're refreshing one march and then you have 3 more on the screen, right? You can just control A, select the ones on the screen, and then it won't actually grab the one that's marching back. And then the other one is you can hotkey different groups to different buttons. So sometimes after I do control A, right, I will do like shift 1 or shift 2, then it'll hotkey the troops that you just selected just to one button. Once you learn those, that's about all you need. Okay, so I would say homework for you. Before we get into anything else, I would challenge you the next time there's fighting to just go for it and try it. Because I think once you try it, you'll realize it's way easier. It's way easier. Okay, because I'm not a very talented gamer. Okay, like I'm not. And the first time I used a PC, I'm like, what the hell have I been doing? And I know if I had that experience, and I'm not even like very quick at picking, like, you know, I don't have like super fast reflexes and any of that stuff, then most overwhelming majority of most people, when they go to the PC and actually use it for the first time, will have that experience or more. So that's probably the like, you know, just that will probably like double your KP output from before. Like it's that big of a difference.
Using dark mode, and I was watching that right before this, and you know, our next fights are Dark Altars, and it's just one march.
Oh, that'll be even easier.
Perfect opportunity to try it out.
Yeah, because then like you know exactly where your march is relative to the other marches, and you'll start like kind of getting a feel of basically the sweet spot, like the zone that you should be in. Like ideally you're finding on the front lines, right? Like you are going to train more efficient if you just fight in the back and then just chase people that get out of position. But like to help out the kingdom and also still do well, you're fighting like near the front, but you're never like the one that's sticking out where, you know, everyone's going to target you. Ideally you're basically one of many that are kind of getting targeted, but then targeted off of and then targeted again. And then you are playing position, and there's always just going to be people that are playing on the phone or that aren't as good at positioning. And that's essentially fighting in this game. It's actually not a very high skill game. Right, but on the phone, to do well on the phone, I think it becomes very, very high skill, borderline impossible. Just because it's you know, it's like trying to play a first-person shooter, like the way it's done on a PC on a phone. Right, there's just not enough control and things that you can use to do it. All right, so try it out for the altar, and then like shoot me a message after it, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised how much easier it is than you think, especially for one march. Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Okay. And then you did say you converted your other accounts to farms. So do you have like 6 farms or?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Are they City Hall 25? Where are they at?
I think I have 5 that are City Hall 25, and then 2 others that are 23 going to 25.
Okay. So with your spend, you actually don't need any farms to get 30 million kills, but I think you'll quickly realize that if you don't have farms to get that much beyond 30 million, it's going to be really hard. I would say, I think the amount of farms you have is good. Get that up to speed, and then do you know about how many resources you usually go into KVK with?
But you know, again, watching some of your other mentoring sessions, I actually developed a spreadsheet right before this one started. Calculated all my speeds, calculated all my resources.
Just prepare for like all the questions I'm going to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to throw a curveball.
That way I can at least figure that out.
Yeah, I need to throw a curveball at you. Okay, so about how much do you think?
I don't know about in speeds, but you know, resources, I'd say I easily spend 3 billion each.
Okay.
Resource probably in a KVK.
3 billion each. Okay.
Yeah.
And then. Okay. Let me actually change.
And about a year and a half ago, I think I was running 4 marches, or trying to run 4 marches, and it felt like I was just spending an inordinate amount of resources, right? Like I wasn't efficient. I would hear other people say, "Oh, I've spent this much so far," and I'm thinking, "Man, I've spent more than that," right? And so that's really why I pulled back to 3 and held 3 up until this KVK. It's just it felt like I was spending way too much of resources to get the output that I had.
Yeah, I would say if you told me I could just have 3 billion of each, right? 3 billion each in gold. And that's all I can have. Like I can't use any more. And you asked me what I would expect to get, I would actually say probably like somewhere close to 1.5 bill on the low side. And I wouldn't even say I'm like hyper efficient. There's people that can maximize that even more. Just to give you a reference. Okay, so I think, again, I stand by this. I think if you just switch to the PC, a lot of that will be solved, because we'll go into your equipment, your commanders and your armaments. But I think that's actually the biggest like improvement you can make.
Okay.
All right, like from like 23 million to somewhere between 1 bill to 1.5 bill. I think that's actually reasonable. And the biggest change would be actually from switching. So what, you said you work from home now?
Yeah, and prior to a year ago, I had a job where I was in the office most of the time. So, the only real time I could play would be, nights, evenings and weekends.
Right. So now you can
family,
actually,
right? Yeah.
Okay, and you can kind of like adjust your schedule for to fight when you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm much more flexible.
Okay, that's super important. Okay.
I can fight when I need to. So when there's fights in the game, I can fight generally, right, or within a close amount of time. So that's been real helpful.
Okay, and then we'll just use this KBK. You're between Pass 6 and Pass 7. Like, what are you actually working on in Crystal Tech right now?
So I think the second tier of for each of the
like
unit types,
attack 3 or whatever it's called.
7 and 8.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 7. You're going from 7 to 8.
Yeah.
Okay. That's more than good enough. Honestly, even at an Imperium, that's like because that's like on pace to either max tech around like Kinsland opening, or definitely by like a day, like a few days in. Right.
Yeah, so it's the third tier. Quench Blades 3, Improve Bows 3,
okay.
Mounted Combat 3. I'm at 887 on those.
Okay.
So yeah, I think Crystal Tech, I'm in pretty good shape.
Okay. So out of everything I just asked you, everything else checks out. I think the PC is just the most glaring one. I know you watch me say in another video, but like, I actually just had a guy. One of the ones I mentored and made a video out of, he just messaged me and says, hey, he's about to start his KVK, so he's gonna and he's used to the PC now, so he's gonna update me on it. But I want to say like, oh, he uses PC and then but like he just said he's finally going to KVK. He's gonna update me on it. I'm excited because like that is such a game changer. Okay, so out of everything I just asked, that's probably the only thing I would actually just recommend you change for now. Everything else, based on your spend, and if you're running 5 marches, like I think like between 1 to 1.5 bill KP is like reasonable. It's not even like a stretch, like a tough accomplishment. I think if you switch to the PC, I think that should probably be the new goal. Okay, so let's actually get into your account. Okay, so here we have, oh wait, let me screen share actually. Let's see. Okay, let me know if you can see this. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, 5 marches. The archer is the one I would tweak around with the most. The other 3 are good to like just the top of the top, right? But it's like definitely good enough at least. How many gold heads do you have right now?
Been working on Herman, so all of them that I've been getting, I've been putting to Herman.
Okay, what's your Herman at?
5511.
Okay.
Honestly, before I started on Herman, I was working on 2 other commanders and just realized that it's probably not the right decision. So I switched from Gorgo to Herman, and he's at 5511.
Okay, what's your Gorgo at, by the way?
5515, 5525.
Okay.
And the reason for that is I was actually going to use her in the field.
Yeah.
So, but with everything coming out with Alex, I switched over and made Alex a secondary.
Okay.
With the expectation of the museum that's coming out.
And you already have the museum on Alex?
First, yes.
Okay. I mean, who knows? Like, it could be the next infantry cycle, where just like a smite, right? Like, you could have a much faster smite commander that pairs with Gorgo, and then you just have Luce with Scipio, and that's the two best marches, right? So
sure.
It's not complete. It's not necessarily like a complete waste. But I would take Luce Alex over Gorgo Luce 5515. I think the Gorgo Luce will trade better, but overall, I would probably take Alex, especially with museum, and especially with a second museum. Okay, and then how many? So you have no gold heads, but your Herman's at 5511.
Correct.
Okay, so you could do this right now. Boudica YSG is my weakest march out of my 6. And it's clearly a couple of, I don't know why, because Boudica's kit looks good. Theoretically with YSG it should work well. But everyone I've talked to, and then including me using it, I look at the reports and it's just clearly the worst one. I don't know why. So before I got into the KVK I'm in now, which is stratagems, right? So there's an artifact. I was actually going to go into the KVK using Herman YSG, and then ZL primary, Boudica secondary. I think you can actually run that. Actually, I know you can run that. My last KVK, this is in the beginning of January now, I haven't had no fighting. For about half a day, I got to run a ZL with a 5411 Herman, and it was actually doing just as well as my Nevsky Joan. Okay. The challenge of archers right now is it's very slow, and then you have McMed and ZL with no march speed. Like, you might as well just run ZL YSG there, and it'll do much better.
Okay.
Right. So I would sub out McMed like before your next fight, and then just run that. And if anything, no, I would actually run that. ZL Boudica in that order, and then Herman YSG. And then I would, if this is the 2 sets a year that you're running, I would put the better gear on the ZL Boudica, and then Herman YSG runs the second, the one with just the Dragon's Breath. Okay. So for you, see, there's a lot of. What do you personally? Okay, you just got the Dragon's Breath yesterday, right? What are you actually working towards on your equipment now? Before I tell you what I think, I want to see what you're where you're going with this.
Yeah, so I just really added the 5th archer march.
Yeah.
So obviously the gear is really weak.
Yeah.
And I think the greatest opportunity within the gear, beyond that Dragon's Breath that I just added, is in accessories. So about lots of about a spare material for a horn and a ring, and just working on saving up for one of those. Okay,
so yeah, I totally agree. I would actually go for ring. Just do the next 2 accessory you craft should just be the ring. Okay, and then what you would replace there is you will replace the book, the extra true capacity book first. And then once you get the other ring, you'll have 5 rings, and that's a guaranteed crit.
Yeah.
Right, now the lucky coin, I don't know when you crafted it. On Guan, it's not the worst thing, right? But and at this point, you already crafted it. But next 2 is ring, and then that actually. don't know, it's tough because because a special talented wind scar is really good for infantry, right? Especially when you don't have the 4-piece set bonus, you're kind of like compensating for that. I don't know what the next infantry is going to be, because if it's fast enough, then eventually you're going to replace that wind scar, right? Let me think about this. So for sure, the next one's a ring, and then trying to think of the upside, because once you have one more, because in general, a ring, I would take a ring over a horn in almost all cases, besides actually maybe siege, which is ironic. But once you do a ring, then the next accessory you're crafting, it's like you either get a guaranteed crit for the 5th ring, or you go with a horn. So the horn actually would fit better, right? Because then you could essentially just replace a horn in the ring on the 2nd archer march. But having a crit ring versus on the horn, that's kind of what we're looking at here. What are your thoughts? Like, I'm not recommending this, but did you ever think of doing 6 marches, or what is your thoughts as far as how many marches you want?
So I think I have to get. Yeah, this is the first KVK I've run a 5th march.
You're just barely getting used to 5.
Yeah, I need to get.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously that 5th one just isn't great. I mean, and the 4th one is, I think, okay. So I think I need to get these to where that they're decent before I start thinking about a 6th. I do have another set of infantry gear.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
That's yeah.
Okay. I mean, you definitely don't want 3 sets of infantry gear. I mean, unless it's like a bunch of legendaries or something. But if it's like just like epics and stuff, I mean, I would actually dismantle that for the mats. If it's legendary, that's a different story.
It's not legendary, okay. Right? And I had it all on a expertise Xeno, just as a fixed garrison for my city. Okay. Right? I mean.
Okay. You said it's not legendary?
It is not legendary.
Okay. Okay, that actually is good. I personally think you should stick with 5, and get used to the 5 with the PC, and then your spend you can actually go to 6, just because you're going to be unlocking the 6 march early enough. But that's just something to keep in the back pocket for the future. So what I would do with this, if I was gonna run this, eventually you're going to want to get rid of that wind scar for an accessory, right? Just because it's really nice to get the march speed, but the upgrade to a ring is such a big difference. So trying to look and see. I'm trying to think what I would personally do. And it's because I'm trying to think, okay, should I is it worth it? Because once a march gets slow enough, it becomes very frustrating to use on the field. And even if it's good, right, with enough speed, without the speed, it almost just seems like it's handicapped. So right now, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I actually think you should do ring and then horn and just fill out the archer for the next 2, and then hopefully by then the infantry picture becomes a lot more clear, and you could determine whether there's like march or 2 that's fast enough where you don't need the wind scar. Another way to go about it is you can at least get the boots to awaken 4 or 5, right? And then off territory you're actually getting 10% extra of march speed, but at some point the wind scar you'll want to get rid of, right? But again, that'll be the last accessory I think you actually get rid of. I would actually keep that over the Delanes.
I mean, you can see the 3 middle marches were the ones that I was running. They were the ones that I was focusing on.
Yeah.
I was working on the boots for the archer to get the health.
Yeah.
and I was going to put those over on the other march, but now running 5 marches, it's really caused me to change directions, and I think getting the accessories on the
yeah, and it kind of sucks, but I'm just like putting it out there for you now. You're probably gonna have to just either bench that coin or like dismantle it at some point, because at some point it's just occupying a slot where, because you have you heard like a sunk cost fallacy, right? Like you just keep doubling down because you already spent on it.
Sure.
Like at some point, like people, I see this a lot with what is that legendary weapon that you can buy from VIP? That gives you like 15% attack or something.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right? Like, and like, well, I spend money, I just have to run it. Like, dude, a Heart of the Saint is better. Like a Heart of the Saint is just better, you know, and you can't dismantle it, you can't get anything from it, and people just like just insist on running it. Like you could just craft a purple weapon and it's better. Like at some point you just gotta go with what is better, right? Or you could run it, but just know that you're running something suboptimal and it's just more of a like it doesn't hurt as much kind of thing. I think you're gonna run into that with a lucky coin at some point, especially when Guan, like if you're not gonna use Guan anymore, right? Because just like what you're getting out of it, honestly, is if it's not Guan, it's like not even as good as the talented Windscar you have. I probably would actually even take the Delanes over the lucky coin if it wasn't on Guan. Okay, so I would actually do Ring Horn for the next 2 and put on your Archer. And then when the infantry picture clears up, then you know, maybe like then you could get your 5th ring, replace a Windscar, or if Guan's out of the picture, and then you need the speed, you actually might replace that lucky coin. So those are probably the next few where you're maximizing the value you're getting from crafting the equipment. Because the other stuff there, like the Golden Age, even the revival set, if you want to, here's another option actually. Then you could actually start working on the leadership pants and then the leadership gloves. Right, because then when you get the 2-piece, the combination of those 2 is actually going to be a medium-size upgrade over the revival pants and the revival gloves. You there? Hello? We lose connection?
I'm here. How are you?
Yeah. Did you hear the last part?
Okay. I did. Hey, I'm going to end up running short on time.
Okay.
Can we move to armaments? I don't mean to be rude, but
oh, that's fine. Yeah, let's get armaments.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, what questions do you have about armaments?
Yeah. So I've really not focused heavily on armaments, until the last month or 2.
Okay.
I'm starting to invest more money into armaments. But I still think I have questions about, which ones I really need to be using my stones on in order to, make sure that I'm optimizing the 5 marches based on where I'm at today.
Okay. So with the transmutation stones, the thing that it's either one or the other or both, right? So first you want to look at the inscriptions, because there's some just trash inscriptions. So the inscriptions trash, like for example, like one like Hurried, where like when you depart battle, you get like 5% more march speed or something. It's just not worth re-rolling. It's not worth saving. So like that one, unless you just don't have something better, I wouldn't even save it. I just recycle it, because then you're not cluttering your inventory. It's not essentially slowing you down from making the decision, and then you're getting some transmutation or stuff that will get you transmutation stones out of it. The other one is if you already have something with high upside. So right, let's just say you pull something and it has, say, like Archer attack like 3.2 and then health 2.8, right? Then you just keep it, because you could potentially get an inscription and you're already at a very good place. Now that's a lot more valuable when it's a scroll, because there's reliable and easy ways to get scroll inscriptions right now. And then for the other 3, right, so the banner, the emblem, and the instrument, there isn't. So like, unless it's very high upside, for those 3, don't keep it. Just because like, even if you have 2 good stats, like average stats, like chances are very low you're going to actually get an inscription for it based on the current system, right? The only chance you have right now is if you recycle 180 legendary material armaments, and then you could potentially pull an inscription for another armament slot. Right? There's no other way that I know of where you could get an inscription right now. Okay, so another way to think about it, you want to declutter as much as possible. So if it's not something you could possibly use, recycle it. Right? So if it's kind of good, like at this point with your armaments, I don't know if it's quite there, but you're probably like not going to save any blues. And then there's like very uncommon that you might save a purple. Right? Just because as soon as you have an inscription, usually the inscription, if it's even average, it's as good as the best stat that you can get, or better from an armament. So you're not gonna take like a purple just because you can't re-roll it. The upside is a lot lower unless it comes out of the box with triple stats and an inscription. You probably won't keep it where you're at. And you know, there's still a lot of rainbow, but like you have a decent amount of inscriptions in all of these. Right? So like, how many purples do you have?
But you know, I think that maybe the 2 out of the 5 marches, you know, it's so close to a legendary that, you know, it was just better, and I felt I had to keep it.
Okay. And actually, I want to be mindful of the time. Like, about how much time do you have so I can tailor this?
Yeah, you know, maybe another 10-15 minutes.
Okay. Okay, we'll finish it in 15 minutes. So 3:35 your time. That's cool.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so the biggest thing with the armaments is, like, if you look through right now, right? If you're planning on running 5 marches, at most you need is 2 sets of each. Right? Because if you have, let's just say, 3 sets of each, then that's potentially, if you get to the 7th march and you're not sure which troop type you're going to run, and then, okay, you could flex to the 3rd of that. But you're running 5, at most you're going to have 2. So, like, if you have 3 sets of, say, infantry, right, get rid of it. Like, just pick the one with a higher upside. So you're decluttering, you're actually not keeping inventory, in this case, transmutation stones on the shelf. So you have more chance to reroll. And then if you're prioritizing what to roll first, here's a couple, like, I don't know if you want to, well, you can rewatch this video, I posted. Right, so obviously the first is going to be a legendary inscription, which you don't have. Second will be a double inscription. That's pretty good. I actually recycled a double inscription recently, just because one was like a little below average and the other one was just trash. So it hurts, but it was a kind of worthless double inscription. Okay, the third one you're going to do is going to be a rare inscription, like the third priority. So like that focus fire is a rare, right? Because especially for the emblem and instrument slots, the chances of getting anything better at that is even lower. It's like 1 in, well, for the emblem, it's like 1 in about 2,500 to get something better. Well, I get a legendary, and then like 1 in like 250 to get a double inscription. Right, so you can't really count on it. So if you get a rare, you just have to treat it like that's the highest upside inscription you could reasonably get, and you roll from there. Okay, and then in general, you want to look to improve your best armament set, improve upon your best armament set. So basically what you're looking to do is, let's just say your best scroll is on Nevsky William. You want to try to, well, wait, you only have 1 cap. Your best scroll is on the Boudica YSG, right? Or your best Archer March. So you want to improve upon that one, so then you can move the one that was the best before to your second one. Rather than you're just trying to work on getting the second one better, usually you're not going to get as much big of a increase in stats or output from trying to increase your second one, as opposed to trying to beat your best one and then making your best one the second best one, if that makes sense. Okay, so those are big picture principles. If you give me some like specific scenarios, I can walk you through the thought process, and hopefully you can make that decision for yourself.
Yes, you know, where I struggle is I have, you know, several where, you know, there's high upside, right? There's a low inscription, but there is a, you know, 3.5%, you know, infantry health, for example, right? I mean, is that really where I need to be focusing, you know, versus others that, you know, is maybe, you know, 2.5 and then another 1.8
Okay.
defense. And right, it's that kind of decision that I think I'm struggling with, because I don't want to waste those transmutation stones because you only get so many of them.
Right.
I've rolled several of them all the way through 10, trying to optimize.
Okay.
But I guess I just sort of now find myself questioning.
Okay.
What
Actually,
I should be doing.
Let's do this. Let's set up another time when you have more time, and
Okay.
we're not going to charge extra for that. And well, you're just screen share. We can do it in private. Just screen share what you're having a decision with, so I can walk you through it. Because I think once we walk through like 2 or 3 of them, it'll click and it'll be a lot easier.
Okay.
Okay. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, just like well, after we stop recording, we'll just come up with a time, or you could just let me know later. We'll work out a time. Ideally, it's either like next Tuesday or after a few days of our fighting, where I'm sure there's no fighting, then we could do that.
Okay. Either's fine, but no, I appreciate that.
Okay, because I think that would help you a lot more. So then finally, let's actually go to commanders. Right. Okay. So right now, you're working on Herman.
Correct.
Right. And then what's your plan after that?
I guess I thought I was going to wait and see, what happens with the next cycles, to sort of see where I go. As I mentioned, I had a Orgo that was 5525, so I could finish her out.
Okay.
I've always been one that expertises commanders versus having just a whole bunch of commanders that are all
right. How many gold heads do you have right now?
0.
Oh yeah. You were working on Herman. Okay.
Yep, working on Herman.
So once
I know a lot of people would probably prefer a second cav march over maybe a second archer march. But
okay.
My Joan is still pretty low. I just don't think I don't have low. I have him, but it's a 1 across the board.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I've made it pretty public what my thoughts are on Hull. I think he's good. I think there's 3 other commanders that are better, and then Belly's going to be the 4th. So actually for you right now, because of the way everything's set up, once you expertise Herman, I would actually just wait. I would actually just wait to the next infantry before you make a decision. It's actually, it's funny because it's actually very clear cut. Like, because Nevsky William is very underrated. Like, William just so underrated, but Nevsky William's a good march. It's like there's not much of a drop off between Nevsky William and Nevsky Joan, which is the best half march. And everything else, once you get Herman expertise, and you could just really, I mean, realistically, he needs to be at 5551. But I think I know your personalities when I expertise him. So once you expertise him, I think right around that time, you might have a month, maybe 2, to just kind of save up gold heads and then just make a decision on infantry. I would actually just skip Belly. I wouldn't touch that. Okay. And since we actually have like a little bit, do you know how to screen share?
Sure.
Okay. So let's have you screen share first, and then I'll switch over. So right now it's still on this screen, but we'll just take a quick look at the armaments, and then we could cover more of it later.
Perfect. Okay, my screen should be up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Oh, you're doing it? Okay, yeah. Let me switch. Okay. All right, and then let me stop my screen sharing. There we go. Okay. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at your armaments.
Okay.
Okay, so what's the decision making? Let's just like go over one so we can we'll do this in the next 7 minutes.
These, I guess if I was going to look for something, I was going to look for something that actually has an inscription that I could focus on.
Right.
I've tried to do a good job of cleaning things out, so I don't think I have a lot of options, and I don't have any there with an inscription, so maybe this isn't a good example.
Yeah, we could check out like a maybe like a wedge for archer or something.
You know, as I've sort of looked through these, I think I've gotten better archer than any other troop type.
Yeah.
In terms of options.
What's that? Go to tremor again. Okay. It's funny. It's okay for like one with an ensign proc, but it's very, very good for siege. Just because the siege is kind of like Sargon, right? So if you have Sargon too, it's the same thing. Because if you're like connected with, say, a siege or a Sargon, for 5 turns, you're actually going to trigger off that tremor. But if you're not, tremor is actually kind of mid. Well, actually not even mid. It's one of the worst ones. All right, let's go to just one. What's one you have a question on? Let's see. Okay, yeah, perfect. Let's go to this one, right? So this one with the striker, click on striker. It's okay. 1.5% normal damage is okay, but it's a banner, right? So in this case, what I would do with this one is I would actually lock health, and then I would roll both of them. Because let's just say you get 1.5 defense, and you don't get 1 point, and then you get nothing for the attack, right? You would take 1.5 defense over the attack. If you do get an attack, it's likely that you'll actually get an upgrade over it. And then let's just say you get really lucky, you get double archer stats, boom, you're done. Right, so this one, it's cool because if you don't get anything you want, you still have 2 stats. But when you do get something you want, there's a very, very high chance that you're going to upgrade. So rather than like saving wasting 2 transmutation zones, right, when you're using 5, you can actually use 3 and to try to upgrade it. That makes sense?
Okay, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's low and it's attack, which is the least important. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Let's see, resistant. So this one I would actually, I would just lock both. Resistant isn't that good, but it's so funny. Like your archer set has a bunch of really good siege inscriptions. Okay. Yeah, but the stats are actually pretty good. So this one, do you have any? Let's see what's the one below Boudica that has an inscription on it? The emblem. So the one under Boudica next to Nevsky, which one is that? Rapacious? Okay, Rapacious is actually better. So, well, okay, if you're using, what's one on Guan then? Oh, they have the focus fire? Okay.
Yeah. With triple stats.
Okay, so go back to the Rapacious. Oh man, that sucks. Okay, so here's the challenge with wedge for infantry. We don't know what direction it's going to go, right? It's very likely that it's just going to go all smite, and then the skill damage or the wedge stuff actually becomes obsolete. So if you want to be a little bit more conservative, you can wait. But that actually might be something where you don't save really good stats and you just try to reroll it to a different troop type. Because Rapacious is good, right? Like this one, if you know infantry is going to go smite, and then you're just kind of holding on to the last remnants of like skill damage, then you know you have the focus fire for the Guan Scipio, and then you can actually try to reroll this to a different troop type. Because the reality is, okay, it's good, right? But it's almost like you're getting a really good like triple stat for, say, like a line formation. Like the stats look good, but it just like the chances that you actually using it are just very low, right? So when you have a line with a triple stat, what do? You just dismantle it. You don't keep it like hoping for something to happen. Right? So the thought process is kind of like that for this. You can wait till the infantry comes out. It's if you just think of all the possibilities, right? It's very unlikely that we're gonna go away from smite damage for infantry, and then you're gonna have 2 infantry marches using wedge. That makes sense?
Wedge, the store. the system, and
Uh,
really only in the last 2 months.
It's kind of hard to hear you say again.
Really, since Armament started, I've
Yeah.
focused on trying to build wedge armaments.
Yeah.
But really, only in the last month or two have
Yeah,
I
you've been
tried
doing
to start
arch.
building arch.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this arch, okay, that one I would, this one you can actually save the attack and defense and just roll for health. And then if you ever like get a special inscription, you could just overwrite that one, right? So that one's pretty straightforward. 2.1 is a little bit on the low side, but I would actually keep 2.1. So that one I would say both. You have another one to look at? Let's see. This is the last one. Okay. What's on Gorgo, by the way? Vengeful. Okay. Good in garrison and rally. Not as good on the field. Okay. Yeah, that one I would just keep. You just wait for something better. I wouldn't. I mean, you can even reroll it if you want, but I wouldn't reroll the vengeful to put it on Luchet, right? So that's kind of what I was talking about. The inscription itself actually kind of determines whether it's worth rerolling because it caps the upside. So this one, you literally just keep that until you get something with an inscription or something. If it's just triple stat, no inscription, you add it up and the stat outweighs what you have now. But that is crazy. Like that instrument, I would actually keep that if I just got it for on the off chance that I somehow get lucky and pull a inscription for instrument from the thing where you get a shard, and then that would be a like top line, like that'll be a top line inscription there.
Yeah, all right. Absolutely.
Yes, so I think it's time. I don't want to keep you and have you late.
Yep.
Just reach out to me, let me know. Yep. We'll set up another time off stream, and then we can go over whatever you want with this. Okay. And sorry, kind of like rushed at the end. I didn't realize the time constraint.
No, that's my fault. I should have told you on the front end that I sort of had a hard stop. So really appreciate you doing this. Really appreciate the time that you spent with me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, I'll just reach out. We'll set up another time and talk in private.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.